Hello everyone, Red Star here. I'm making this video right after I just finished recording Volume 1 of the Spell Thief series. Before I get into the actual commentary, I should explain myself and my Magic the Gathering knowledge background. I play the game casually, so I wouldn't know what cards are meta in the game. I'm more into wanting to know about the lore and gameplay of Magic, like what does Menace do or what plane a certain planeswalker is from. I also admire the art shown in the cards themselves, how they're designed and how they relate to their description. Being fairly new to the story of the multiverse with only reading the wikis to gain context of the world, so I may not know everything right away. That being said, I know there are comics that precede the series, and they are probably good stories. I just believe I should start with the newer series first, so I can be in the mindset of a newcomer trying to get into the lore of Magic. Maybe I'll take on the older comics in the future if it is demanded enough by you guys. So without further ado, let's talk about the plot of the story. The entire first chapter was meant to establish a premise for our entire story and explain why our main character is living the way he is. The comic's author, Matt Forbeck, gives us the perspective of our protagonist, Theif, a spell thief, as he tries to escape from his latest score, a knife called the Fang of Rakdos. This sends him on a series of events that makes him jump through worlds to avoid being captured or killed, whether it be by people he stole from or by people who have a grudge against him. After his escape, he then uses his magic to look into the history of people who used to own the artifact, causing him to stumble upon a clue who was responsible for destroying his hometown, Drakeston. So with this knowledge, he leaves his current plane he is in, which is Ravnica, to the plane where the original owner of the artifact was last seen, in Innistrad. Seeing that the person who killed his friends and family was allied with vampires, he starts with seeking them out first. There he helps out a group of fighters called the Cathars, who have sworn to protect the living from being preyed upon by these nocturnal hunters. They gave him the identity and location of the original owner of the artifact, Sifa Grint. Or Sypha, I think her name is. Well, anyway. Well, Sifa is what I'm pronouncing her as. This prompts Dak to go looking for her and to get his revenge on what she did to his people. After teaming up with the Cathar Ingrid and a brief fight, he learns that he put the people of Innistrad in danger since he was the one Sifa was hunting for when she consumed his hometown. This leads to a showdown in the town square and an all-out melee between villagers and ghouls. When he was about to kill Sifa, he realizes that the ghouls are about to overwhelm the townspeople and his new friends. So he chooses to focus on protecting them, which allowed Sifa to get away, and thus kicks off a series of Dak Faden and his adventures of getting his revenge on Sifa. The story's pretty standard, the sequence of events are easy to follow, and some of the rules of the multiverse are established, or continuing since it's based off the previous stories in the same universe. The only thing that annoyed me about this story was when it would go into Dak's inner monologue. I mean, there's an exciting scene happening, but the monologue just saps the excitement right out of it. I already know who you are. I want to know what you plan to do after jumping into a window to fight vampires, because that's awesome! That's only a minor gripe though. I was engaged throughout the story, and hope that we learn more about Dak and the other characters. Speaking of which, let's talk about Mr. Faden. Dak is a planeswalker. In this universe, or multiverse which it is referred to, a planeswalker has the ability to use magic and travel between worlds, also known as the planes. I applaud the writer for including this information in the beginning, otherwise I would be wondering how and why Dak is warping through different places with ease. He lives the life of a spell thief, which can be interpreted based on this volume as someone who steals magic artifacts for either profit or knowledge. I used to think he was some kind of detective at first, until I remembered that he was actually going to sell the knife to Vaclav Nosek, pardon pronunciation, after he was done with it. I like the fact that Dak isn't really an all-powerful character. I mean, he is literally powerful being a planeswalker, but when he goes through some of these dangerous situations, it actually feels like he's in danger. He can't just use any spell, his powers and mana are limited, much like when we play the actual game. He even admits that he's not a fighter, and he didn't even directly kill anyone throughout the story. Well, except for this guy. Another character that gets some focus is the Cathar Ingrid. From what the volume tells us, she comes from a broken home and an overprotective father. She lost her mother to vampires and insistently assists Dak on hunting down Sifa. She is shown to be a competent fighter, although a little reckless considering she almost gets killed 3 times in the story. In the beginning of chapter 2, Dak saves her and she chastises him for it, saying that he made the situation worse. I think her words can just be replaced with, "It's not like I needed your help or anything, baka." No, seriously, she does seem like a tsundere, berating the protagonist and tags along anyway, constantly getting into arguments, etc. I like her just fine, although I get the feeling we won't be seeing much of her or her father Herman in later issues since Dak teleported to another plane in the end. That's all the main hero characters, so let's get to the villains. We get a minor villain in the story, the vampire lord called Falconwrath. He's pretty much the second in command to Sifa, who is kind of iffy on following her, until he's deliberately reminded on why he has to. He serves his purpose enough, being the obstruction our heroes has to deal with, and the reason for Sypha knowing where Dak was going to be and sets a trap for him. I like the part where he questions Theif on whether she lost the Fang of Rakdos, since the artifact controls vampires, and if she didn't have it, that means he could overthrow her. Little did he know, she didn't need the artifact anymore to control him. He does have a character worth developing. Hopefully we see him again. I mean, we didn't see Ingrid kill him exactly. Maybe he did get away. Oh well, one can hope. As for the main bad, we have Theif Grin. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. I don't know if it's pronounced Sypha or Sifa. Anyway, she's the one who's orchestrated Dak's hometown of Drakeston to be consumed by vampires. She has the same powers as Dak, also being a planeswalker. As far as I know, her only motivation is to consume other mages to feed her thirst for power. So not enough development about her character to find interesting. She is the stereotypical powerful witch we've seen many times in fiction. Hopefully we get more backstory on her as the chapters progress. So lastly, let's discuss the art and attention to detail to the world. Magic is centered around the 5 colors of mana that make up the multiverse: red, white, blue, black, and green. Each color representing a different ideology or personality within magic. For those unfamiliar with what the colors mean, here's a brief summary for each. Red represents fury and emotion. White is cooperation and order. Blue is logic and understanding. Black is self-preservation and ruthlessness, and green is growth and freedom. This comic uses these colors to let the reader, or at least the ones familiar with the color spectrum, know what kind of mana represents these settings and characters. For example, Dak mostly wears blue and is more of a thinker instead of a fighter, as shown of him always coming up with some form of escape. However, he has red hands, symbolizing his inner emotion that takes over his judgments, as shown in later chapters, especially when he attacks Sifa. He knows he should run and escape. He says that to himself constantly, but his heart tells him to stay and fight, and of course he nearly gets killed for it. As for the settings, the best example would probably be Sifa's mansion. Sifa herself is always seen in black, aside from her blue eyes showing that she is a schemer rather than a direct fighter. The mansion itself is shaded in black, giving a harsh atmosphere. This is a place that feels like someone could die at any moment. Falconwrath almost did, if not for Sifa still needing him to lure out Dak. As for the design of these places and characters, they are pretty standard for IDW, if not above average. There isn't really a scene that had me scratching my head thinking that the shapes and colors are wrong. Although that landing after Dak grappling hooked out of the balcony felt too shallow, and I don't know why he just stands there on one knee instead of walking away. Also, some of the action scenes felt underwhelming, examples including both encounters with Falconwrath. When I think of magic, I think of fireballs being lobbed at each other, at least show different spells affecting the environment or other people. The final battle was great though. I like the escape from the first chapter. Some of these action scenes work. Every panel is giving enough detail to tell the reader exactly what is going on, and I hope we see more of it in the next volume. So yeah, that was my thoughts on the first 4 chapters of the Spell Thief series. Overall, great start. The characters are established and given motivation. Dak might not be my favorite planeswalker, that would be Sorin, but I like him as a protagonist in his own story. He's driven by his revenge, but at the same time he can't ignore a situation when innocents are in danger. I love the drawing and artwork for this book, although my standards are pretty low, just not Ride Blindfield low. I know my videos don't have the best audio, and I'm constantly retweaking my sound settings. Hopefully you all are entertained. This will probably be my only commentary video on this subject so I can pump out more content on these books. And you might want to stick around for the next few minutes if you want to see me make fun of this book. I like the story, but some of these jokes can't be ignored. Anyway, this is Red Star signing out. Take care.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
What are you buying?
Nobody will ever understand the torment I feel. The torment of an extremely attractive ninja who is lusted after by pretty much every girl he's ever met. Mine is indeed a tormented existence, filled with torment. And girls. Girls with their breasts. They torment me so.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. How about you? Oh yeah!
Aim dead center.
Ah, my wrist!
My name is Gideon. And I'm about to die.
Well, it's a good thing I play a lot of Assassin's Creed.
And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my upon thee.